Peter Yarrow, singer with folk legends Peter, Paul and Mary and co-writer of Puff the Magic Dragon, dies at 86. Peter Yarrow, one-third of the chart-topping 1960s folk trio Peter, Paul and Mary, which helped popularize Bob Dylan as the voice of a generation, co-writer of the song Puff, the Magic Dragon and a prominent social activist, died Tuesday morning at his home in New York City with his family by his side, a rep confirms to Variety. Yarrow had been battling cancer for 4 years. He was 86. Peter, Paul, and Mary were a leading light of the booming folk music scene of the early 1960s, which famously centered around the nightclubs and cafes of New York's Greenwich Village. Yarrow had begun singing while a student at Cornell University and performed in New York and at the Newport Folk Festival, where he was spotted by manager Albert Grossman, who had a vision of an updated version of the Weavers, the legendary folk group featuring Pete Seeger. Singers Noel Paul Stuckey and Mary Travers were soon recruited, and, using Stuckey's middle name, Peter, Paul and Mary were born. The trio signed with Warner Brothers Records and achieved success quickly with their first singles, The Lemon Tree and If I Had a Hammer, and won 2 Grammy Awards in 1962. But it was their cover of Dylan's Blowin' in the Wind, released in June of 1963, which they performed while standing beside the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. at the historic March on Washington that August, that truly made them into a cultural force, not to mention superstars. Not coincidentally, Dylan was also managed by Grossman, although the new Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown, does not dramatize how much the trio popularizes music in the early 60s. Yarrow's character appears in the film, played by Nick Pupo, seen engaged in debate as a founding member of the board of directors of the Newport Folk Festival. The trio would score many hits over the following years, including with the Yarrow co-written Puff the Magic Dragon, yet would remain indelibly associated with those early years. Later in his life, Yarrow would focus intensively on social activism and spoke often against the war in Vietnam and on other subjects. The group's initial run came to an end in 1970 when they broke up and pursued solo careers. Beyond his own albums, Yarrow had a #1 hit as a songwriter with Torn Between Two Lovers, recorded by Mary McGregor, which topped the Hot 100 for 2 weeks in 1976. Peter, Paul, and Mary first reunited in 1972 to perform at a benefit for George McGovern's presidential campaign. They came together again in 1978 at an anti-nukes concert. Thereafter, they resumed regular touring and often played dozens of shows a year, which continued until Travers died in 2009.